Good evening, televiewers. Welcome to this edition of Prime R, an edition that is dedicated to talking Cameroon. We're asking the question, what it will take to rebuild confidence in this nation and also work for our national unity. What is it that has caused Cameroonians to lose trust in themselves, to lose trust in the institutions that have been set in place to move the nation forward, and national unity is threatened at many levels. We often hear of people who call themselves les Écans, others call themselves les Nordistes, others call themselves les Bamileke. We also hear about les Sardinats and les anti-Sardinats. We also know of what is happening in the northwest and southwest regions. So we are finding out where actually trust was breached and how we can fix it and also forge our national unity ahead. We are discussing this topic with our permanent panelist and our permanent consultant is also there today in the person of Apostle Ambe, Valentine. Ngwa. Good evening and welcome.
Good evening, Cameroonians. Welcome to today's edition of Prime Hour. We're here to build the trust or to discuss where we missed it before trust was broken. You know, trust is the glue that binds leaders to followers. And if I thought trust is broken, it's like a train that has been disconnected, wagon of a train that has been disconnected from the coach. So I think it's time for us to reconnect the wagon to the coach so that the train can fulfill its destination.
Okay, we're also in the company of Mr. Siaka Shuneh. He is a political analyst. We're glad to have you this evening.
Yes, Leonard, good evening and good evening to all the televiewers of My Media Prime. As a matter of fact, in every political dispensation, there's always room for reconciliation. So we are here to see how we can achieve reconciliation and build back peace in a nation that was once described as an island of peace and tranquility.
Okay, Apostle Ambe Valentine Ngwa, when you look at Cameroon today, you think it is time to start identifying where wrongs were committed and looking deeply into where we made errors?
Yes, Mr. Liu, we're talking about how do we rebuild trust and national unity in Cameroon. I think we have to find out where trust was broken and we start mending it from that angle. And there is no situation that is too bad that cannot be mended. And I think if we have to trace ourselves back, it's not to trace history and be full with bitterness or be enraged. It's to trace history, find where we missed it and then correct the future. I don't think history was created or history was meant to destroy the future or to cause people to become very, very violent and destructive. History was to find out where we did it best and repeat it, and where we missed it and correct it. There are so many good things that have happened in the past, and equally very, very bad things equally have happened in the past. Let us go to where the good things happened and go to where the wrong things happened, and then see how we can repeat the good things. Somebody said, and I quote, another definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over and expecting a better result. If we want to repeat what we did yesterday, that break away the trust that we had amongst ourselves, then it's going to be repeating the same thing over and over and expecting a better result. The anger, the bitterness, the anger and the frustration of our fathers and our friends, our brothers who lived earlier before us, and if we want to go back there and continue to where they stopped by activating that same anger or pouring more fuel to an already ignited flame, then all of us are going to burn to ashes. It has to go from different strands. There are political errors, there are economic errors, there are spiritual errors, and there are equally social errors that have been committed in the past. But let's start, because the root of these errors is the political errors. The political errors that were committed influence the economic errors and the rest of the other errors. The political errors that were committed in the past is that the beginning from the colonizers, That's why we have to trace it. The colonizers came and met a people and give them the impression that those people are strangers to each other. The moment you start telling a man from Menkaf that is a stranger to a man that is in Boom, you're already setting confusion amongst them. That is Menchum division as a whole. These persons all are from Menchum division. They may be in two different locations. That does not make them strangers. The colonial powers that came to this continent of Africa set a lot of division and confusion. How do you explain that two families like the Hutus and the Tutsis will start butchering each other because an impression was given to them that they are strangers to each other? How do you explain that you go to some particular communities, it is decided that a particular group of persons are the ones to rule in that community because they are the majority? They gave us the impression that the other person is not qualified because it's a minority. And the story goes. So if you want to trace it, it's an African sickness that our case study today is Cameroon. Where did we miss it? The first thing is that a people consider themselves as strangers to each other when they have different languages. The infiltration of these two groups of people in this country, the two communities, the two national powers, international powers that came here, made us see ourselves as strangers. Somebody is speaking French, the other person is speaking English. Initially, there was no French, there was no English. But the moment those languages came into the picture, we start seeing ourselves as strangers to each other. That is the beginning of the error we have. And if we do not go back and trace this foundation and deal with it, we may fight and kill ourselves and destroy each other because of something that was introduced to us. Twins could be born from the same womb, quite all right, but they have differences in the resemblance. That doesn't make them strangers to each other. This language of a thing was a very, very serious problem. And if you hear today we are talking about Anglophone, we hear talking about Francophone, it's just a matter of language. That language gave us the impression that we are strangers. But if you go back to trace history, the people from Douala, that's the Littoral, and those from the southwest are two brothers. Mbedi and the brother migrated to the Bamba, came to this part of the country. One stayed here, and the other moved down to Limbe, to southwest. Those are two brothers. Now, when these two foreign powers came, they made Mbedi to see himself as a Francophone, and his brother to see himself as an Anglophone. That differences in language already has built a wall between the two persons. I think if we do not
the brothers of Nsah and
Charayon and Gonso.
Yes.
Yes. Also, at the end of the day, they fight themselves as two strangers. The person that is in sources and Anglophone, the one in Fumbot and Bamun,
so that guy is
Francophone, which people came from the same womb. So the problem is not where we're coming from. The problem is who came in between us to ignite the fire. Right from Genesis chapter 11, God said, these people all speak the same language. They have the same vision. Nothing can stop them from accomplishing what they want to accomplish, which means when there is a common ground on the language, it's difficult for the vision to come in. You will never hear a man from womb call another person a stranger because they are speaking the same language. So this problem of language should be corrected. That's the reason why, despite the infiltration of the English and the French, we still have 52 different tribes in this country that even have different languages. So who is a Cameroonian if it has to be based on the language?
Okay. Who is a Cameroonian if he has to... yes, but can we concretely identify some of the errors that actually caused Cameroonians to start doubting and losing trust in themselves and the system that is in place?
As I earlier said, in every political dispensation, there is always room for reconciliation. Then secondly, Cameroon is one of the most complex political and cultural settings in the world. As Apostle Ambe was saying, we shouldn't limit ourselves to the two national languages, English and French, because before the League of Nations handed German Cameroon to the French and the English, the Cameroonian people were existing. And Germany was their colonial master. We have over 250 ethnic groups with different dialects in this country. And it is a very complex situation to manage, considering that even in just in the northwest region of Cameroon, we have more than 10 tribes with over 50 different dialects. And those are the things that separate us. Those are the things that divide us. But besides, before the coming of the colonial master, we were living as one. We were united as one. What caused the division was this divide and rule principle that was instituted by the colonial masters to be able to penetrate into the hinterlands. They put us against each other, and in that case, we started seeing antagonism amongst us and seeing your brother like a stranger. Because if we want to put it on a clean cultural platform, what divides Cameroonians? What's making a Cameroonian see his own brother as a stranger? Whereas, look at the situation of Northwesterners and the Bamilekis, we share almost the same culture and tradition. Look at the case of the Doualas and those people in the Limbe, I beg your pardon. They share almost the same culture and tradition. Look at the people of Banso and the Bamuns. They are the same. So I think that it wasn't an error in 1961 when Southern Cameroon voted to join La République du Cameroon. It's because they identified themselves culturally and traditionally with their brothers in La République du Cameroon. And then look at it. Nigeria, northern Nigeria, is a typical Islam and Fulani area. And northern British Cameroons voted in favor to join Nigeria. You realize that there are cultural and traditional links. So, as a matter of fact, we are instead supposed to be stronger rather than becoming weaker with our multiple cultural and traditional ethnic groups. Mm-hmm. And then, at the level of politics, you see that politics is a game of interest. Mm-hmm. And now, elitism is one of the fundamental factors that is dividing us in this nation. How do I put it? Once an elite from a tribe, a particular tribe, is proposed to a position, he wants to identify himself with his people against the other tribes. Mm-hmm. Whereas, in good governance, when you are appointed a minister, you are a minister for that nation. You are a minister to serve the people. But it is tradition in this country that when they appoint a minister, they organize a homecoming for the minister in his village, which implies that he has been appointed to represent that village. And that is the ideology that has settled in the minds of other tribes. That division now sets in, and every tribe is struggling to push one of their own elites to be able to represent them at the level of governance. And as a matter of fact, it is detrimental to national unity and integration.
Okay. I want us to settle on this issue of language and move forward. If we identify that language to some extent has divided Cameroon, and Cameroon is actually finding it difficult to move along because people now identify themselves as les Sadina, les anti-Sadina, and the Bamilekis, les Ekang, and you see, they identify themselves through the dialect, the language they speak, the Anglophones, but why did we not see this coming and see how to fix this? We have nations in the East Africa,
of course,
with African languages as the national. Is that not where we also fail to some extent?
Yes, I think the challenge we have is that we did not embrace the colonial masters with a pinch of salt, like other countries did. Mm-hmm. If you go to Ghana, Ghana was colonized by the British. Mm-hmm. And when Kwame Nkrumah came back from the University of America and started campaigning for the independence of Ghana, Kwame Nkrumah instilled in every Ghanaian the culture of the Ghanaian society. In other words, they did not swallow everything that came from Britain. It was a taboo to find a Ghanaian girl putting on a skinny dress, a dress that exposes her body. This Ghanaian society, you see a girl sew the Ghanaian material, preferably. You will see the Ghanaians, you go to Ghana, 3/4 of the language they speak inside Ghana is not English, it's a Twi language. The Twi language is almost a national language in Ghana. If you go to Ghana, their way of operating is absolutely strange from the British, because they absorbed the culture in the system. But some other communities opened up and almost became the opposite. For instance, it was a prestige in those days to go and eat money in France. That's why you see they almost swallow up the cultures that existed around here. So we became now Francophones. We became now Anglophones. You go to East Africa, you will hardly see a president address the state in English language. It's in Swahili, Kiswahili. You go to Uganda, you go to Rwanda, you go to Kenya, you go to Tanzania, you will hear Magufuli constantly speaking in Kiswahili. That is to let you understand that they embraced the British, but they did not embrace the British culture. And because of that cultural tie that we embraced here from the one that came from France, we lost our original identity. So we became more of Francophones and more of Anglophones than being the Cameroonians or the Ghanaians or the Tanzanians that we're supposed to be. Now, considering what came from the Northwest and the Southwest, you will discover that because the British came there and infiltrated the society, we did not absorb completely the British culture. There are particular communities in the Northwest where the fawn still is the king. No matter the colonial master that came, you will discover that you come to some regions out of the North and the Southwest, there is practically no culture there anymore. Everything has been swallowed. Kings are now dressed like police officers with caps on their head. That traditional regalia is even lost. It's not there. That is to let you understand that we allow a stranger adulterated our culture. Mr. Leo, if you divide Cameroon respectively, you will discover that when it comes to Littoral and Southwest, there are people in Botaland, they speak Douala.
Yeah.
People in Bimbia, they speak Douala.
Yes, even down in Zian there.
Yes, they speak it. You move now to the west.
Then in Tiku across the Mungo here.
Yes.
Yes.
People of Baligam almost speak the same thing like people of Buddha. Yes.
They are wings.
They are wings. They speak the same Akum. They are almost speaking like people from the western region. You go Fumban and Bamun, they have a unifying factor that brings them together because they know first and foremost is brother and sister relationship. Now the three Grand North predominantly is Hausa language that circulates in that area. When we talk about Central Province is east, south, and west. Yes, because you have the Baka Bantu, the Bantus, and the people from the south, the Betis, and the almost speaking the same language. That's to let you understand that the demography of Cameroon before the colonial masters came pointed the fact that these people are only relatives that gave birth to children, migrated and formed tribes. If you go and see how the Kum left, if you read the history of the Kum migrated from somewhere and they followed. From the story we got from kingdoms and foundoms in A levels, is that they followed by the serpent and arrived to where they are today. That is to let you understand that if I give birth to a child and the child grows, takes up a wife from here and goes to the next community and produces another tribe there, they have just multiplied the tribe in another location. And because of this demographical balance that we had, there was no problem. But now you see, there have never been womans. That's born from womb, and Bafutans. We have not have Metans and also Bansons. We have had Anglophones and Francophones, which means those tribes have not become identity. They become that's in the general public. But this particular group called Anglophone and Francophone have been sidelined. Why don't you have womans? That is somebody from womb. Why don't you have Bahmenans? Why don't you have Menkafans? Why don't we have Boomans? Why don't we have Bafutans? Why don't you have Njintans? Why don't you have Mankanikons? But we have Anglophones and Francophones. Yes, we should have had Betitans and have the Ewondotans. And we have these tans. Then you see, that is to let you understand that these differences in language is what has caused the greatest challenge we have today. Serious challenge. Now, if we have to solve the problem of the language, I repeat, if we have to solve the problem of language, we have to remove French out of the picture. We have to remove English out of the picture and see if there is no English, who can a Douala man easily talk to? Who can a man from Bamum easily talk to? Who can a man from Western region talk to? Who can a man from the West talk to? You will realize that a man that lives Yaoundé can easily understand the language in Eboluva. A man that lives in Eboluva can speak easily in Betua. A man that lives Bamenda can speak in Bafusam. A man that lives Southwest can speak in Douala. So let us wipe out this personality of Anglophone and Francophone. You will realize critically, practically clear.
We'll identify ourselves.
Easy.
We will know
Easy.
who, yeah.
Yes. And because we came with the issue of this language, trust was broken. I began seeing you as a stranger. I began seeing you as an enemy. I began seeing you as a devil. I began seeing you as this. As much as we are analyzing the issue of language, a lot of errors were committed in the past as a result of this language. The result for the marginalization because some people took language and put in front of them and saw themselves better than others. If I am a Francophone, we are the ones who own Cameroon. That is Franco. It's not Cameroonian.
Yeah,
take away that Franco mentality. Be a Cameroonian. You will never treat someone from Southwest as a stranger or as a minority.
Okay. Yes, because you say, okay, we are Francophones, but is the person from the North identifying himself as a Francophone? I am enjoying the power. Is the person from the West saying that, okay, I'm a Francophone, am I enjoying the power?
Yes. That's
so
what the problem is.
There is a veil that is actually not allowing us identify
to see,
identify who we are. But now let's look. We are looking at trust. How much trust have these guys who are representing the people, political elites, at the level of the National Assembly, at the municipal level, at the ministerial levels? How much trust have they constructed over the years between the government and the people?
Okay, before I answer your question, I would like to throw more light to what Apostle said, earlier said. You see, the British and the French had two parallel policies in their colonization manifestation. When the French came in for colonization, they came in with their culture. They colonize you and impose their culture on you. Whereas for the British, when they came, they colonized you and strengthened your culture. Look at it. It's very simple to understand. Look at, as Apostle Ambe earlier exonerated, look at traditional institutions in the Northwest in particular. They are well organized, they are strong, and they were supported by the British and the Germans. Look at the magnificent edifices that we have over there like palaces. Look at our costume. Yes, we maintain our costume. And that is why, as an aside, I've come up with an initiative called the Toko Festival that we'll be celebrating sometime in December 2022 to promote, preserve, and valorize that rich cultural and traditional heritage that was handed to us by our ancestors. Our colonial master, the British, they promoted, protected, and valorized it. That's why they built magnificent structures and left for our kings as palaces. Come back to the Francophone side, where the French colonized. You will not find any edifice to represent as a palace. You hear a first-class palace, and it's like a kitchen in a quarter-head's compound in Bafut. We should say these things the way they are.
Yeah, but
look at their costume.
This
is to show that the French, when they come to colonize you, they assimilate your culture and impose their own culture on you.
But then when you get to the Western region, you see magnificent palaces.
Who come there?
I'll come to that.
When you get to the Bamoons, in Cameroon, sincerely speaking, traditionally speaking, I don't think there is a people that would rival the Bamoons in tradition. But when they were also under the French. When you get up north, you have very powerful Lamidos and but they are all French. Isn't it an issue of a people also?
It depends on how they succeeded in assimilating their victims.
Okay.
Like in the littoral and central region and south and east.
Yeah, where the chiefs are putting on.
You see, they assimilated them to a level where dresses that senior divisional officers, which are French concoctions, wear. That is what they wear now until they are struggling to come back to the limelight by using these mukuta bags that we use to carry cocoa and coffee to fabricate something to look as if it is culture, whereas it is just something that they want to pamper the eye. Right here in the littoral.
Mr. Shuneh, you are not nice.
No, I'm just calling a spade a spade. Look at here, even here in the littoral, their traditional dress, their white shirts. How come our ancestors here were putting on shirts with hats? Those are things that was transferred to them by the French. And then to come to
the
West and the Bamoons. If you look at the history, we all migrated from almost the same area and came down. And then our chiefdoms were so powerful that the colonialists found it difficult to assimilate us. They are great wars. Look at the Bafo-German War. As a matter of fact, you just said something here that tickled my brain. And I want to explain it to the hearing of every Cameroonian. If there is any fondom that is revered in this country and feared worldwide, it is the Bafut fondom. As a matter of fact, we have a body, a worldwide body that qualifies and regulates traditional and cultural institutions called UNESCO. The United Nations Education, Science and Cultural Organization. That is why you see the Bafut Palace is the only palace in Anglophone Cameroon that's a World Heritage Site. Okay. The only one in Francophone Cameroon is the Palace of Rei Buba in North. There are only two in this country that are enshrined in the World Heritage Site list. When we talk of palaces that are enshrined in the World Heritage Site list in the world, we are talking about the Kotala Palace, the Kotala Palace in Kotala Palace in India.
In India, yes.
We are talking about the Buckingham Palace. In England. We are talking about the Versailles Palace in France.
Okay, now come back to the question. So that we do not move away from
one of those factors that bring division is the one you just cited. You see, they mediatize the Bamon Palace. They mediatize the Fumban because it is French against covering, because have you heard in any media one day and they are celebrating the Bafut Fondom as a World Heritage Site? Those are one of the things that bring division.
No. I'm a journalist. I speak from what I have lived. What you are saying with the Bafut, it has been. I've been to Fumban and I've lived. The guys celebrate their culture. It's not part of the propaganda. I have been there. I will next year if you want.
I have been there.
Yeah, we'll move
we
there.
Will go there.
Yeah,
and if not of the insecurity in Cameroon, I will also take you to Bafut.
No, but
as we are planning to celebrate at this end of year, so you can experience it too.
Mr. Shuneh, that I'm talking about the guys of Bamoun is just to say that they are within the Francophone circle, but their palace and their sultan is revered. I also made mention of the strong guys up north and the guys in the west region, to say that in addition to what you are saying of the funds of the northwest region, we also have very powerful guys in the west region, in the north region, and some guys here in.
No, I concur with you. I
yes,
concur with
that's
you.
what I was.
I concur.
But get back to
concur.
Get back to what I was saying.
Yes.
I'm talking about division, trust. How much of our representatives, National Assembly, Senate, ministers, how much confidence, how much trust have they constructed over the years in the people?
Politically, as I earlier explained, politically it is a very complex situation, because when tribalism becomes part and parcel of politics, when politics use ethnic groups for divide and rule, it becomes difficult. You see, most of our political leaders, like in the parliament, they go there to represent their constituency. They speak for their constituency and they defend their constituency. Mm-hmm. They don't go there to defend the whole nation, because they are representing a constituency. So those are some of the factors. Those are some of the factors that can also promote division and lack of trust. Because any parliamentarian who goes to the parliament is struggling to galvanize and canvass for projects for his own constituency. Mm-hmm. So at that level, it becomes difficult that he speaks for the nation, except he is on diplomatic mission. But normally, his role and responsibility is to galvanize and bring projects and develop his constituency and his people.
Okay, yes, but have they represented the people? Because that is where the trust begins. We are voting you to go to Yaoundé to represent us. At the municipal level, they have voted municipal councillors to go to the council and represent their interests. That is the trust. Mm-hmm. We're talking about social contracts here. The president tells the people that, give me confidence, I will work, give me 7 years, I will work in your interest. And then assigned ministers also, who are expected to go back to their respective, when they go for campaigns, they say, vote President Paul Biya, I will remain there, I will seek your interest. And then at the level of the National Assembly, vote for me, I'll go to Yaoundé and speak in your interest. Indirectly, senators are also voted to represent the interests of the people. Mm-hmm. Now, how, over the years, have they really worked to tell the people, prove the people right or wrong?
Mr. Leo, I will say emphatically no. They have not built trust with the people that elected them. First and foremost, most of our MPs practice ethnicity. For instance, if an MP is elected by a tribe, the MP focuses first with the family. If the family is not fully satisfied, they don't go to their clan. If the clan is not satisfied, they don't go to their ethnic group. If the ethnic group is not satisfied, they don't go now to the tribe. It begins with the family. Now, an MP is elected, a minister is appointed, a secretary of state is appointed, you go to that village, it ends within a family. A family can never vote an MP. It is a constituency that is made of several villages. A tribe can vote an MP, and that tribe, let's say Batibo, we have Messi, we have Guzang, we have Mbengwe, we have Njindom, we have Acha. Those are all different villages within that constituency. Then a man is elected parliamentarian and he comes back and looks for a family within 5 villages that elected him and focuses on that family. What do you expect the rest of the villages to feel? That's where the division starts. If at all he is able to touch all the villages and make sure 2 or 3 persons from those villages have opportunity that he has, it will be as a reference that he has dealt with the tribe, not with the family. I think the challenge we have here is that the representatives of the people are dealing with their families and they turned their offices to be a family affair. Meanwhile, they were given the opportunity by a tribe. That's what the trouble is. So we are telling our people who have been given the opportunity to occupy high offices of the state, get out of, in quote, familiarism. That's the word I've created. And go back into tribalism. Tribalism in this sense is you are able to reach all the different villages that make up that tribe in that community. That's where the problem is. Because there are people from Jindom, people from Gunuku, people from Acha, people from Gembo, people from Bengui, from Guzan, who are insulting the parliamentarian that was elected that came from Jindom village. Because he did not even focus for his village, he focused for his own family within a village. The family is a very minute unit, and that family was not sufficient to even make you become who you are. So the trust is broken when we carry family sentiments and put into offices that were meant for the entire tribe or a particular constituency. That's what the trouble is. Now, going back to this issue of language, which I think I'm still emphasizing on, is the more reason why somebody can come from Central region and feel like the office of a president can never come from Northwest and Southwest, because he feels like, I speak French. You are speaking to your brother. If the littoral refused a man from Southwest to become a president, it's Mbedi that has denied the brother, not a Francophone that has denied an Anglophone. If somebody from Fumban refuses someone from Nsah becoming president, it should go out of that Franco-Anglo. They should understand that it is Charayen who has denied the brother Ngongso the opportunity to become president of the country. If we don't remove this cap of Anglo-Franco, we will kill ourselves every day. The only tribe in the Northwest that was never colonized or even manipulated was Rebuba. The French could not penetrate them. They had serious resistance. And even when Ahijo came to power, they attempted living as a nation. But Ahijo was smart enough to make sure he recruited most of them into the military, thereby bringing them and joining them with the Cameroonian government, the Cameroonian society. That was a tribe that wanted to become a country. Now, will somebody from Diamare, or from Faro Edio, or from Mayo Kani, Mayo Danai, Mayo Sava, get up tomorrow and say, because the president is coming from Brebuba, I should not consider him as a brother? That's madness. And this is what the trouble is. Mr. Leo, it is like somebody from womb denying somebody from Bafut from becoming president. For your information, womb and Bafut are extension of families.
I know.
Language only changed.
They were going down, and then this brother said, I'm settling here, and then
go the other person, I'm going.
Continue. Yeah.
Now, we have not gone back to that very root where we came from. We have taken an imported title to distinguish between who we are. Let me ask you a question. When you call water in Douala, Madiba, go to Southwest, they call water Madiba. They call water l'eau in French. They call it in English water. If you look from the ethnic point of view, Madiba in Littoral is Madiba in Southwest. But if you go from the colonial point of view, l'eau in Douala is water in Southwest. Who separated us?
Colonial master.
Colonial master. And this is what the trouble is. Now, somebody sits in Yaoundé whose brother migrated to Douala and became president. And became a Douala somebody. And then you sit in Yaoundé, you say, I am a tone, I am Francophone. I have to rule because the man who is in Southwest, the Southwest person is your brother who extended his location to stay there. Now, because of that, people now started treating somebody east of the Mongo, somebody west of the Mongo. The failure is on both sides. Those who absorb the Francophone mentality and deny their brothers are Francophone, that's Franco in quote, it's like Mbedi accepting Francophone mentality and then denying the brother who is in the English region the opportunity. Get out of that francophone, anglophone. Get the foundation between Mbedi. Get out of Wum and Mezam. Get into the brother who left Bafut and then went to Wum. You will cancel all these Mezam, Jai Lobo, francophone, anglophone in your mind. You will begin to deal now with a brother who came from the same womb with you. That's what the trouble is.
Okay, that's where the trouble is. But these divisions also and lack of trust are also caused by this elitist class that would favor their own to have access to some of these big schools. I'm talking about recruitment into specific offices in the country where some persons actually think that they have been left out and cannot trust that based on their merit they can benefit from some advantages that are supposed to be given to any son and daughter of this nation.
Yes, that is something that is true to the political context of Cameroon. But before I dive into it,
don't forget this what yes. I've asked you. Yeah, because
before I dive into it, let me also say something concerning the elected officials, parliamentarians, that he was explaining. I don't think that they are all the parliamentarians who are like that. We have some parliamentarians who manifest unanimity in their communities, and their communities love them and cherish them for what they are doing. What has been, after my analysis as a politician as well, I realized that most of those who were elected into parliament were people who were above 60 or 50, who were preparing for their retirement. So once they get to parliament, instead of looking at the people that they were voting to represent, they start thinking about preparing for their retirement, settling their families, so that by the time they are out of service, their families should be able to take care of themselves. Why did it happen that way? Because youths were not interested in politics. But thank God that youths have understood the status quo and are coming into active politics now and kicking these old people out with their old brains. I would like to cite two parliamentarians who have made unanimity in their constituencies. I think it is, I can say it without any fear of contradiction, that Honorable Edgard of Nkambe meets unanimity with the people of Nkambe. As a matter of fact, the people of the whole of Ndonga Manto. Because he shows and he manifests that he is their representative and is working in their favor. I would not also even forget the young and dynamic Ago Oliver, who is the member of parliament for Bafutuba. If not of the very high and strong insecurity, but despite that, he has been trying to penetrate the ground and put his footprints on the ground. Because he's a young guy, he's less than 40. Galajera is a young guy, he's less than 40, or in his early 40s. And I think at that level, if we start showing interest in politics as youths, because as a young politician, Galajera knows that he still has a future. If he blunders now, what will he say tomorrow? Look at somebody like Ago Oliver, he's a young guy. If he doesn't do something significant, he still has a future. There will be time that they will call him to question. But when you have parliamentarians who are 75, 80, they don't care. They don't care. Of course. Okay. So coming back to your question.
Okay. The issue of meritocracy.
Meritocracy and elitism. We earlier said this. Once you are elected as parliamentarian for your constituency, you become the #1 elite in that constituency. You become the #1 hunter in that constituency. Means that you have to go and hunt for opportunities to bring to your people. You have to go and hunt for gain and bring to your people. And this is one of the things that brings us to the point where you said, when you finish, they will put you on the drawing board. When you were parliamentarian, present your balance sheet. How many youths in this community do you support? How many businesses in this community do you support? At that level, they go now beyond meritocracy. They will do anything possible to make sure that they gain a position for one of the sons in that constituency, in Enam, in Eric, in Ekonoma. This is something that we know because it happens once somebody is elected to that position of parliamentarian. Before it is daybreak, you find parents coming to his compound with bunches of plantain, with their children's documents. I want you to get a job for my son in Yaoundé. They start drawing goats and bringing and tying in front of his house and say, these are documents of my son. I want my son to go into Enam. The elected official finds himself now between the devil and the gypsy. And what does he do? He must do something beyond meritocracy to be able to gain favor in front of his electorate. And that's how it ends. And what have you? He has to make a name for his people and for himself.
Yeah, but we are talking about whatever you just said. But let's look at access to what we call a grandes écoles, the big schools in Cameroon. And there is a policy that has been put in place called regional balance, where it is expected that persons from each region should have access to any opportunity that is presented, not only for these big schools, but even for the processors that exist in the nation. Have these quotas been respected to give the people of the respective regions confidence that the President of the Republic or the system has put in place a mechanism that allows us to dream to this level? Have we seen that when you go to the respective parastatals? Because there is a law that actually says that this is what is supposed to happen.
Yes, Mr. Leo, that regional balance has not been respected. Not at all, not one bit. And it's so bad to the extent that we live at the mercy of so-called political fathers, in quote. That somebody is not smart enough, but because he's from the root of the political father, he's given the opportunity more than somebody who merits and is more intelligent. And this is the reason why, until you know somebody, a young man that went to Enam came here and said, thank God for my godfather. Okay, those of us who don't have godfathers, why should a community where young men have the skill and the talent to offer the society are kept at the backside because they don't have godfather? Which community will allow the most talented persons because they lack a godfather and allow people who are not competent to take up responsibilities? That is where the trouble is. And because of this, a lot of persons are disgruntled. Do you know what it means for me to sit with you in a classroom? I know you are a dullard. I grow up with you. We go to the university, you came out third class, I came out first class. Tomorrow, you are governor, and I'm frying plantains at the roadside. You expect me to sit and congratulate such a government that gives opportunity for third class citizens to occupy responsibility while you were my classmate? I know your capacity. No. It's like a book written by Linus Tongo Asong who said, no way to die. The Maximilian who was a dullard in the class ended up becoming a medical doctor. Why Nunkam Manje was so disappointed to find out that the man that he was teaching in class is a medical doctor. Why he was intelligent. That's what is happening in Cameroon. Because you have a godfather, whether you are intelligent or not, you have the right to occupy a little responsibility. This godfatherism is what is also frustrating the trust of most young Cameroonians. You can't get a contract in the government because you need a godfather. You can't get a job because you need a godfather.
Okay. What we should always watch out are the quotas as stipulated by the law says that as far as regional balance is concerned, in a parastatal for recruitment, Adamawa should have 5% at least. Extreme North should have 18%. North region, yes, North region should have 7%. Central region 15%. South region 5%. East region 4%. West region 13%. Northwest 12%, and the Southwest 8%. Are these respected? Do we see this?
Honestly, Mr. Kum, I am one of those very few Cameroonians who totally stands against this issue of regional balance.
Okay.
Let me substantiate my point. What does this regional balance imply? That we write a concours to get into Enam. They have to take 20 students. No, just for example, they have to take 10 students from extreme north. They have to take 5 from the northwest. Okay. I have 18 on 20. But because they have to take 5, we are 10 of us that have 18 on 20. They will take now the first 5 that have 18 on 20. And then from the extreme north, they have to take 10. Their best candidate has 12 on 20. Implies that somebody who has 8 on 20 from extreme north will go. Meanwhile, I will have 18 from the northwest. I will not go. It encourages, it does not promote meritocracy. I am totally against this issue of regional balance. Even though one famous professor, in quotes I say it's a francophone, said that if not of this regional balance, no Anglophone would have ever entered Enam. He said it on TV. I have it on record. Yeah, but I start to challenge him.
Which means if I go by what you are saying, it means that there was a recent Enam concours where we saw almost everybody coming from the tribe, from a tribe and almost a family.
Yes.
Are you saying, were you very comfortable? Because in the construction process of a nation, there are some, I think, the persons who actually came out with this, when you are constructing, there are concessions that you make, there are compromises that you make to build the nation and give a feeling of belonging to almost everybody.
Yes.
Yes. Are you saying that the case of the Enam results, I'm sure that was 2 years ago, where 80% came from a particular tribe, you are very okay with that?
If they merit it, if they wrote the exams and merited it, then I'm comfortable. But if it was because of godfatherism that they are there, I am totally against it.
Then you are just confirming what Professor Shalomine says. Yes, because to you, some people from a particular tribe are very, very intelligent.
No, that's what he said, but it's false.
Yeah, but that's what you are confirming, because to you, the guys who succeeded from a particular tribe, if they are very intelligent, it means they are more intelligent than any other person from any other tribe.
This is what I'm saying. If they wrote the exam on a platter of gold for everybody, and that family
is more intelligent,
they were so intelligent and passed the exam, they merit it.
And you believe that they were very intelligent?
No, I am not judging that case. I'm saying that particular case, because as a matter of fact, with the situation that we are living in this country now, it is difficult.
Okay.
Because we know that people do things through the back door.
Okay.
But I mean that if they put you are an examiner, you, Mr. Kum Leonard, you are the chief examiner for the concours into Enam. You, that I know and I want to believe that you will do the things correctly the way they are supposed to be done. Okay. If you were the chief examiner and they wrote those exams and that particular family had 10 of them who were the best students, let them go.
Okay, Apostle.
Let them go.
Mr. Leo, I want to debunk what Mr. Shuneh just said. Totally.
Yes.
We are dealing with regions here. There is no way you will not find smart people in any region of the country. You go to the east, there are intelligent people there. The regional balance is absolutely correct. There is a best in the east, there is a best in the south, there is a best in the northwest, there is a best. If we sell the best from the 10 regions, we'll have a better nation. So you cannot tell me that if the man in the north has 18 on 20 and the best in the north has 12, it cannot even happen. That's a judgment that does not have a stand. You cannot tell me that in the whole of south there are not bright people there. In the whole of east, we will always select the best. If the best from the south is 15, that's the best. And somebody can be the best of the south and still come and become far more better than the one that has 18 in the north, depending on the situation that you write the exams. So the idea of regional balance is absolutely correct. The problem is it's never respected.
Okay.
It is never and ever respected. And even if it is going to be respected, it's so bad to the extent that it does not even count anymore on meritocracy. It has to count on godfatherism. We have seen secretaries who don't know A become regional councillors. We have seen municipal councillors who were house helps because their madam was comfortable with them, while there are intellectuals in that region who were gunning for that position and never had it. It still falls back to the issue of my word created familiarism.
Yeah, in that case, we are
Yes.
we are in the same platform.
So that's what the trouble is.
I'm talking on a situation whereby everything being equal.
What has killed this country, I repeat, so far, is because we don't see ourselves as children from the same mother. We see ourselves as strangers. If at all this idea of francophone and anglophone not in the picture, then the next president after it was supposed to be Estimona. But because that Franco and Anglo, how do you explain that in 1963, 64, 65, when they had the parliament, Mr. Leo, 50 parliamentarians, you had 40 called francophone parliamentarians. And then we had 10 called anglophone parliamentarians. What does it make any sense? What sense does it make? That you will come and pick Northwest and Southwest, whose brother is Littoral, whose brother is Western region. You call them, that 10 should come from their area. Was it wrong for at least 15 to 20 parliamentarians to have come from Northwest and Southwest? If we saw it at the level of brother, how do you call salt in womb? Ngwa. We call it in Bafut, Ngwa. How do you call salt in English? Salt. You call it in French what? Sel. The thing that divided us, I'm still repeating, is these strangers that came into this country.
Yes.
Look at the traditional regalia of the West and that of the people from Bamungo. It's the same material. It's the same attire. You understand what I'm saying? So the idea I'm trying to pass across today is this. If at all we were treating ourselves as brothers, then if the president comes from Southwest, the president is not Anglophone, is not Francophone, the president is a Cameroonian. If the president comes from Yaoundé, the president is not a Francophone, is not a Anglophone, is a Cameroonian. And because of this issue, the Francophones also have chosen to march upon their own brothers, whom they call Anglophone, failing to understand that it is Mbedi matching his own junior brother. It is Charlian matching his own junior brother in the name of Franco and Anglo. It's like me and Leo are born as twins. I was trained in Britain. Leo was trained in France. We come back tomorrow and we want to settle. I call Leo Francophone. I call myself Anglophone. I may kill Leo for being Francophone, and Leo may kill me for being Anglophone. Forget to understand that we are twins. What is that difference? That difference is that we have been taught to speak two different languages. If at all we saw ourselves as Cameroonians, then a president coming from Northwest, Southwest, North, East, South, Center wouldn't have been a problem. This is the error we have to start preaching back to correct the error, both from the administrative political class as well as the ordinary man. Because if we don't do that, and not many people will criticize me, they will write all kinds of things against me or they will insult. But the truth is, it is high time we left this trouble that we have been dancing in between because of some strangers that came and destroyed us. So I think we should get to a place of understanding that trust was broken when we started seeing ourselves as strangers. If we start accepting each other as brothers and sisters, then trust will be restored. Number two, I want to emphasize on this platform, nobody is a minority and nobody is a majority. This minority has been changed to inferiority. Minority is not inferiority. And this idea of this people are minority, this one is majority, is another principality that has to be dealt with. Charian is not minority. Ngonso is not Charian is not majority. Ngonso is not inferiority. is not minority. Mbedi is not majority. The brother is not minority. It is the minority and majority mentality. If we go out of that, then a man from the north can easily vote someone from southwest freely as president. A man from center can vote somebody from northwest freely as president. But this minority and majority mentality is a product of language. Language.
Okay. Good evening, Mr. Liu. Language has nothing to do. Our government is the highest problem we are having in this country. Is Canada not a bilingual country? T. Temple is writing from Bafoussam. In Canada, you don't have the Bamile case, you don't have the Betis, you don't have the Ewondos, you don't have the Bafouts and the host of others. So the context is quite different from what we are living, comparing Canada to what we're talking. But then the minorities issue, equation, is also their rights are protected in our constitution, but at times not respected in the way we carry ourselves in Cameroon, also causing conflicts and mistrust, because some persons think that they would, these other persons would want to swallow us up. Have we taken the pains to always ensure that the rights of every community, especially minority communities, are protected, to feel that they are fully part of whatever makes up our nation?
Yeah, constitutionally it is true. And then most often than not, we only hear of the Pygmies and the Fulanis, whose rights are protected, and most of the time you see their showcase on TV, how they are going to gratify them, integrate them, so that they should not be seen as minorities. But all these other tribes that we are talking about, they are major tribes that they don't have issues of minority or majority. It's just that this political dissemination whereby they see some tribes as inferior, because the history of this nation has not been taught to our brothers east of the Mongo, because the honest truth is that the fundamental problem about Cameroon is that they don't teach the history of Cameroon to Cameroonians. We were taught European history in secondary school. They didn't teach us our history. And when you grow up being ignorant about who you are and who your brother is, the only thing you can do is you will learn from the streets. And when you learn from the streets, it becomes difficult. Because that Francophone who calls an Anglophone an Anglophone doesn't even know the history of that Anglophone. He is just saying what he or she heard in the streets.
Insulting the brother.
You understand? So insulting the brother, as Apostle Ambe is saying, because we needed to teach the history of this country.
And the Anglophone calls the Francophone frock.
Yes, the Anglophone who calls the Francophone frock, Francophones. He doesn't understand that he's insulting his own brother. So fundamentally, the history of this country is supposed to be taught to Cameroonians. Let them know how we came to be in this union, how we were not even divided until they came and separated us, and pretentiously in 1961 said they are joining us back in a so-called political plebiscite. We were united before. So contextually, I'm saying that
we should not be having issues of minorities.
We should not be having issues of minority or majority, because this issue of minority or majority now brings now the minority person as an inferior person to the majority, whereas the issue is not about the population. It's not about numerical strength. It's about human value. Are you getting me? It's about human value. It's not about numerical strength. It doesn't mean that because you from your tribe you have 15,000 and from my tribe We are just 5,000. That means that you are superior to us. That's not the case. So honestly, the bottom line is that the fundamental cause of this division is the colonial language that was imposed on us. And we must be able to put a dichotomy between this colonial language and our originality. And once we understand that, then we are okay.
Yeah, but the fact that we do not know our history, people, especially somebody who is killing himself from Nsah against a brother from Bamu, if they actually knew that they are one people and that their cultural and traditional ties are far greater and stronger than the language we speak, we would not be where we are today.
Of course.
Yes, but who failed in their duties? Because we have historians who know this history, and they will only teach their students in class. The students may just number to 60, 100, and not. But we're talking about millions of persons here. But the unfortunate issue also, the unfortunate situation is you call the historians to come and tell the history. Because when I call Professor Ngwa to come and talk, I myself, I learn. But why are the historians themselves not making themselves available to talk the history? Why is the government not also putting a policy where historians who have written our history, those fathers who lived the epoch, should actually invade the media space and tell this history to Cameroonians?
Knowledge amplifies violence as well as reduces violence. Mm-hmm. A man that is knowledgeable becomes very violent when he knows the truth. That's what happened to Mahatma Gandhi in 1946, when he picked a document by the United Nations saying that every country has sovereignty, and he began agitating on non-violent protest for India to get its independence, and India was forcefully given independence by the British. That was knowledge he discovered. When people are not properly informed, they will act otherwise. If you go to Europe and America, informations are circulating everywhere. They make sure that informations reach your doorstep. You go to websites. The African man, first and foremost, is not a reading type. Not. Reading is now becoming a culture, as some people say, if you want to hide information from an African or a black man, put it in a book. It was not an insult, it was a wake-up call. And the more you read, the more you discover. And if you go down to places like Japan, people of 75, 80 years who no longer go to school, they are constantly on the net, finding out the most recent information. By so doing, they are updated. They cannot get up and start reacting ultraviolence. Look at what happens in Cameroon. 3/4 of Cameroonians do not know the history of their country. We keep saying that the government should bring personality on television. How many Cameroonians watch television? How many Cameroonians have access to television in some remote areas that do not even have light? How do we communicate this? There is something we call community development. Teams are supposed to be set up to go to particular communities to educate the people.
Tell them their story.
Tell them their story. An individual from that community who understands the language can be translating it in the dialect while somebody speaks in English.
That you find yourself today in Bafmen.
Yes.
But know that you once lived in the Adamawa.
Yes.
From the Adamawa you moved to this community, to this community, to this community. So where we are settling here, but we are coming from this
place. So the Adamawa man is not a stranger, he's your brother. You just migrated and left them. And when you were leaving, not everybody left. A few of us left and came here. The man that sits in Bafmen understands that even though Adamawa man speaks French, he's my brother. The French language is a strange language. I repeat, a very strange language. English language is a very strange language. And it's so bad to the extent that we have English language as an obligation to enter universities in our country. We don't have Bayangi as an obligation. They teach Yoruba in University of Nigeria, and you obtain a degree in Yoruba language. That's how you walk in Lagos for 4 kilometers. You might not hear English. You walk in Accra for 2 kilometers, you might not hear English. Why? The people understand the language of their community and their history is in their language.
Exactly.
If we don't do this campaign, we will keep on fighting every day and fighting every day and fighting every day. That is also the negligence of the state that does not involve or engage or cut out budget for issues like that. And you will realize that our greatest challenge is information. The war that we are fighting is as a result of inappropriate information in the hearts of people. And if a nation is not good in communication, there is serious trouble. We know that our state has a deficiency when it comes to communication. This Cameroon nation is not good in communication. Vital informations are not dispensed to the hearing of the masses. We come to television, we do our best, we try to communicate, we answer some questions, post before us, topics are treated here every day. Many persons will tell you that, I just learned. And the persons who are telling that they are supposed to have master's degree from school, some have PhD, some have first degree, and they are now learning what they needed to know about the nation on a TV platform. Who is educating who? We had an encounter with a teacher who told us that he has never seen a computer, yet he graduated from a computer as a computer teacher in 2009. How do you explain that? What is he teaching? But he has not had any practical understanding of the information he is teaching. This is the reason why we are insisting that if at all this information is not properly communicated, this generation of violence may die. Another generation will rise that is not still aware of the history.
That is not properly informed.
And they will still react the same. Because this generation that are dying right now are not the first to start agitating for this particular thing. It's that theirs have gone wild. We don't know how wilder the next generation will come up if at all we don't learn lessons to communicate to our people.
I've not taken messages, Apostle. Let me read some of them today. Apostle, I love the way you speak. You are really educating the public. Njifak is writing from Limbe. Yes, exactly what Apostle just said. We should use every platform to educate. Good evening, Mr. Leo. My problem is that the president has never addressed his people in English. Wilson is writing from Limbe too. Good evening, Mr. Leo. I think our grandparents like Chief Goji Dinka be contacted to come on this platform and tell us his own part of the history. Chick is writing from Loom. Good evening in the studio. In the house, I'm enjoying the program. I wanted to find out from the Apostle that was it really possible to have 25 parliamentarians out of 50 when we just have, we had 2 English-speaking regions. What's the case where they need 5 best from each region? Emmanuel is writing from Limbe, okay, talking about regional balance there. Good evening, Mr. Leo. Elvis, writing from Mile 4, I love your program. Language is what it has put into problem. The earlier we realize we barefoot come womb, Buddha, Bayangi, Basabulu, then we move forward. I will be glad if from time to time you invite historians to enlighten us. Some of us are better, okay? I pray they accept to come. Good evening, sir. The government is not our problem. If there is no discrimination, we will have peace in our country. Larissa is writing from Douala. Greetings to you, gentlemen in the studio. I'm really blessed watching my media prime, The African Eye. My dear Apostle Ambe Valentine, you have a whole encyclopedia of unity in your mind. I wish we all be born with the same stuff you are made of. God bless you, Apostle. Long live my media prime. From Ngwa Silvanus, writing from Limbe. Silvanus, thank you very much, and we also pray that God should bless the work we do out here. I'll take some more messages before we continue with the program. Good evening, Mr. Liu. I think Pidgin English is the most understood language in Cameroon. A place should be given for that, I think. Ben is writing from Bamenda. Greetings, Mr. Liu. I love the program. It's Madame Chopazem is writing from Limbe. Good evening to you all. I think the problem we have in Cameroon is a lack of reading culture. Cameroon historians have written tons of books and scholarly articles on the history of Cameroon. There are foreigners in Cameroon who master the history of the country even more than some Cameroonians because they have interest in reading. Best regards, Dr. Eugene Munto, writing. Well, good evening to you, Doctor. Greetings, Mr. Liu. The honest truth is that no one Cameroon existed before the arrival of the Europeans. What existed were sovereign city-states and sovereign kingdoms, and even the German Cameroon includes parts of all the neighboring countries. Without the arrival of the Europeans, the political entity called Cameroon or the Cameroons would never have existed. Thanks. Dr. Wesley Angoni is writing from the United States of America. Mr. Liu, I wish Apostle Ambe become a counselor in Bafut for him to construct Lower Bafut and build their market with his good heart. The Upper Bafut marginalized Lower Bafut's Mbuti. Meanwhile, all resources come from Tingo, especially the sand extraction and the rice. Yes, the sand is what is also disturbing some of us to move safely down to Menchum Division, because those trucks destroy the routes, and Bafut Council is benefiting while we suffer. Yeah. Good evening, Mr. Liu and your team. 3 things are urgently needed now in Cameroon. The first is to understand the origins of the crisis. The second is to support an inclusive national dialogue. And the third is to ensure that the 2025 elections are free, fair for all. The government must recognize that it faces a substantive national crisis and take extraordinary steps. A general conversation about governance in all its regions is also necessary. Given the depth and severity of people's grievances, a holistic approach is needed that would address issues of governance, security, and civic engagement to mend the bonds that have been broken. Bon Windsor Emmanuel is writing from Yaoundé. Good evening to you. Good evening, Mr. Liu. The problem is not minority. There are many tribes in the northwest that you don't even know their names, but they live in peace with the so-called popular tribes. This is because the leaders has laid a strong foundation of unity. But this is different with southern Cameroon. I mean, even the former president called us a piece of gifts from the Queen. How won't we feel insignificant? Nunga is writing from Boya. Yes, Good evening, Mr. Kum. A nice topic and well analyzed. My worry is if we know that tribes in East Cameroon are related to tribes in West Cameroon, then why do some English-speaking Cameroonians are advocating for secession, e.g., Menju subdivision constitutes bona fide Bakosi and the Mbos? Okay, I'm sure you want to talk Manjo, but you do not spell it well. Will it be proper to separate them from those of mainland Bakosi? Peter is writing from Tico. Good evening, Mr. Liu. Elvis from Mile 4. I love your program. Language is what has put us into problems. The earlier we realize we Bafut, okay? I'm sure I read this message already. Good evening, Mr. Kum. I want to tell that my friend in the studio that if going to Enam was because of intelligent regions that do perform well in academic exams will always lead, but the reverse is true. Yeah. Yes. One would have expected the Bamile case and Northwest to top such exams. Felix is writing from Bamenda. Good evening, Mr. Liu. Concerning quotas in competitive exams vis-a-vis the regions, understand that today, if you go to every remote part of our country, you will find many people with university degree holders. Okay? No tribe has a monopoly to be more intelligent than others, given the same opportunities. Let the quotas be respected. Nkesa Emmanuel is writing from Fundong. Okay? Good evening to you, Emmanuel. Mr. Liu, evening. Thanks for your program. Mr. Liu, I'm disappointed with one of your panelists called names parliamentarians. They were not voted to support business but make good laws for all Cameroonians, okay? Yeah, but he did not also say all the parliamentarians are doing well. He said some, and he cited names. Good evening, Mr. Leo. Kudos to the good work you are doing. The only error that we have faced and still facing and will always face is colonialism, language, and the divide and rule policy. If you can't speak or write French or English, you are considered an illiterate. But the person I consider as the biggest illiterate is the one who can't speak Lamso, Keyang, Ewondo, Fulfulde, or any of our mother tongues. This is our problem. As Apostle rightly said, if we don't remove the Francophone and Anglophone cap, we will always have disunity among us. Special greetings to Apostle. Mr. Ekole Gabriel Agbo is writing from Bafusam. Good evening to you, Mr. Agbo. There's a message of looking for that I wanted to read. I don't know. Someone wrote from Tico. The message I can't find because there's so many messages. I wanted to read your message from Tico so that you don't tell me that I'm discriminating. Somebody wrote from Tico. Can you just resend the message? It is far below. There are so many messages. Thanks, Mr. Liu, for this program. Until we value humanity than our political greed, unity will be a dream not to come true. Usmanu Tata Musa is writing from Bamenda. So, hi, Mr. Liu. Live from Balinyonga is Dipno Roland Do. I'm owing you Kola Nut. Your program is teaching us history. I'm so happy. Thank you very much. I'm waiting for the Kola Nut. When you send Kola Nut, also send palm wine so that I can, yes. The history of Cameroon has messed us up. Let us forget about the history and start building a new Cameroon from scratch in which French and English will no longer be the national language, which we shall make Pidgin our national language. Thank you all. Nkwa Jacob is writing from Kumbu. Yes, Pidgin is spoken by both Francophones and Anglophones now. Yes. Now, let us... Good evening, Mr. Leo and the panel. Thank you for your efforts and your consistency. I heard some billions of francs CFA has been disbursed to revamp the cities. Is that true? If yes, then most credit go to my media prime. Thank you. Sweden Voice. Okay. We are talking about what is happening in Cameroon and trust, but are we also going to index the judiciary? They are there to look at those who are less privileged, those who are not treated well at all the levels. They are supposed to be the voice, the eyes and ears of the people. That is when you feel cheated in a nation, it is the courts that should prove you right or wrong. Have they done their job? And can they play a key role in fixing this problem?
When we address certain, how do I put it, departments in the nation, to every rule there's an exception. Okay. There are very good, sincere judges today, sincere police officers, sincere persons in the judiciary. But sometimes we speak because the majority of the persons are not doing what is expected of them. For instance, in a case of 100, we can say 20% of the judiciary are honest people. The rest, 80%, are corrupted. We used to know that the court is the voice of the voiceless. The law is a defense to the defenseless. The court is the only place where an individual can win a community. But you see, it's rather unfortunate today because the consciences of most of the judges and the persons in question who direct the law from the gendarmerie to the police and the rest, their consciences have been bought. When money overrides the conscience of people, beasts are produced in offices where saints were supposed to be walking into. That is where the trouble is. We live in a society where the judiciary was supposed to be a place where an individual who has no covering, no backup, goes to find solace. This time around, people instead have their backup in the judiciary. Places where they were supposed to go and look for defense, people have already secured defense in those places. And when you go there, you are treated with disdain. I've seen persons go to prison who have not committed crime, and I've seen those who committed crime stay back at home. A university lecturer met me and said to me he was owing somebody 500,000, and the person took him to the police. He was locked up. the elder sister, who is a magistrate, called the police, ordered his release, and asked for the person he was going to be arrested. That's just a case amongst 1,000. Where the common man thought he would find defense, there he went into captivity. That is to let you understand that we are not insulting, or we are not here to abuse the judges or the judiciary. We respect your offices, we appreciate what we are doing, but please, to those of you who have made a mockery of that particular responsibility, repent from your heart and make that judiciary sector that happens to be a defense for the defenseless, a voice for the voiceless, let it come back to where it used to be. There are also very good judges who have refused bribes to twist cases and send the people who were guilty to prison. We applaud that. Nobody can reward you. Only God can reward you. When you want to serve people with all your heart. No government can reward a worker. It's God that rewards everybody that serves a country. You must also understand that we don't have the same backup and equality in every society. There are people who are less privileged and there are others who are privileged. But we should not allow the disadvantage of individuals play a very pivotal role in frustrating them the more. Somebody who does not have a backup is already frustrated. You passing judgment wrongly against a person, you are making the person more frustrated. Those are the kind of things that people accumulate for so many years, they will spring forth in the future. The crisis we have today, the seed was not planted today. It was planted many years ago. It only developed and gave birth to that beast we have right now today. So let us know that whatever we are planting today may not produce the same result. A group of disgruntled persons may get up tomorrow because of the anger of yesterday and cause a crime for a generation that they were never even part of. Let us know that as we serve a nation, our responsibility is to render services to the common man, the middle class, and the upper class. And that service should be rendered appropriately. We should not take money, sell our consciences, and jeopardize the destinies of people. The judiciary in Cameroon, we have good judges, we have good police officers, we have good authorities who have served the nation. We also have persons who have abused that office.
Ok. Bonsoir le plateau, Monsieur Léonard. Très beau sujet, vraiment. Apôtre Ambe est un Camerounais digne du nom. Ses explications d'un verdict est cohérent et raisonnable. Le véritable problème que nous avons, c'est ces deux mots, francophone et anglophone. Merci. Song et Raphaël Kiki, depuis Tico. Apôtre Ambe vraiment mérite les mots francophone et anglophone sont les raisons pour lesquelles j'avais refusé de prendre une femme francophone. Je suis Bakoko de Crébi, ma femme Bakwere, juste pour que mes enfants ne connaissent pas la honte que francophone et anglophone nous apportent. Merci. Okay, good evening to you for sending that message. To say that what Apostle is saying is also your cry. Good evening, Mr. Liu and the panelists. I'm enjoying the program, very educative. Lista Montana, writing from Yaoundé. Lista, extend my greetings to your mom. Good evening, Mr. Liu. Please, I'm going to disagree with most of our lecturers and doctors and teachers of history, Mr. Liu. The foreign languages has united us more than separating us, Mr. Liu. The various pre-colonial kingdoms like Widikum, Nsah, Basa, Ewane were considered as separate states on their own. Anyway, we can call it countries on their own. When the whites came in Cameroon, they introduced the German language, occupying a very large portion of Cameroon that covers parts of northern Nigeria, present-day Equatorial Guinea, Chad, Gabon. These areas spoke German under one Cameroon. When the English and French came, then the German trouble started. Finally, I'm saying that the white man came with their languages and created more of unity than separation or isolation, which more of pre-colonial states practiced. Okay, Tafa Simon Ta is writing from Buddha. Good evening to you. Good evening, Mr. Liu. This is my first time of writing up in this platform. I love your program and my appreciation goes to Apostle Ambe. If Anglophones were speaking like you, many things could have happened. But the simple truth is that Anglophones have changed their minds forever. We will never and ever be used like toys again in Cameroon. Good luck, Jonathan is writing from Bamenda. Okay, don't know what you're saying. Yeah.
Fundamentalism.
Yes. Just to say kudos to your program, Prime. Frederick Nsah is writing from Kumba. Good evening to you, Nsah. Good evening to you, Mr. Leo, and the entire panel. Subepi watching from Douala. The loss of trust in this country is as a result of lack of political will. The common or average person in this country does not have any problem with one another. The difference and disunity only grows up when top political elites start talking about regional balance, which is not always the case. Okay. Now, we are talking about trust, rebuilding trust, national unity. Is this trust not also always broken when political promises are made and are never kept?
Yeah, fundamentally that's true. Because when you make a promise, you have to stand to it and keep to the promise. And once you make a promise and you don't keep to it, it promotes lack of trust. For example, let me substantiate. The Northwesterners still remain disgruntled today because of the promise that the head of state made to them to give them the ring road. The ring road still
He promised
remains,
to personally supervise it.
yes, and that has never ever been done. A breach of trust. That's just one of the examples I've cited. When you make a promise to your wife and you don't stand to it, it brings acrimony in your home. And in the political circles, you realize that most politicians during elections, they will come and make big promises. They will promise heaven and earth. And once they're elected, some of them disappear into thin air. So it is fundamentally true that when you don't keep to your promises, it brings distrust, it brings disunity, it brings misunderstanding, and so acrimony will set in. And it is a fact that is undisputed. We don't even need to gesticulate over that.
Okay. So politicians, when you promise the people, you say we're going to build 5 classrooms, and then it never happens, and then you promise again and again, and things are not done. Even when you tell them that I'm coming, the trust is broken.
Yes, Mr. Leo, trust is a glue that binds leaders to followers. And trust is mostly demonstrated with your words and keeping of promises. Most of the promises made by our politicians, beginning from the executive bureau right down to the legislative and the common man, there is no trust. People come on television, people stand making annual speeches in a country and make promises on things they will never do. Even as a pastor who runs a church, when people begin to lose trust in your leadership, it becomes very difficult for them to actually give their heart to the services of God. Because you as a leader, you are a kind of role model that when your integrity is tampered with, people begin to question the God you are serving. And these principles works everywhere. You go to any office, you are working as a boss. If your integrity is tampered with, your followers or your workers or your subjects begin to question who they are following. Because one thing is very certain in this life. Leadership is influence. And you influence people based on your attitude. The attitude you have will determine who will follow and who will not follow you. There are persons in this country who practically have given the impression that we cannot look up to them because of the series of promises they have made in different occasions. And then suddenly, things are just suspended in the air. When you lie a poor for too long, even when you are saying the truth, they don't believe it anymore. If the head of state gets up to them and say, we are starting Ring Road next week, every other person will say, but many of them when I leave that story. I've seen many people who say, Maître, when I leave that thing, they don't talk about. They announced Limbe Seaport. If you tell people, no, Seaport project under, leave that thing. Leave
Until they
that thing.
see.
Leave that thing. So they keep saying it. Because they have given not once, not even twice, not thrice, not even 4 times have they said things that they have not done. So because of that, when you now take for that, the president has now given this instruction that this thing was going to say, you will see. You will see. When people start making statements, you will see.
They say there's a special status. They say yes.
Yes. Until we see. So it becomes very difficult for them to believe you anymore. And when they wait for too long without seeing any changes, they get radical.
Okay. Good evening, Mr. Leo. I'm watching your interesting program from here. Please, I want to ask why people see more problems with the colonialism the West brought to us than the Christianity and Islam they brought. Cyril is writing from here. Good evening to you, Cyril. Yeah, but Christianity is preaching love now. Islam is also a religion of love. Yes. Good evening, Mr. Kum. This Anglophone crisis has simply given the people of Northwest and Southwest the opportunity to express the envy and jealousy they have against industrious sons and daughters of the Northwest and Southwest. Mr. Kum, please tell the people of the Northwest and Southwest that America is great today because the indigenous Americans accepted people from all over the world to live with them and develop America. Eta is writing from Kumba, okay? Good evening, Mr. Kum. I'm writing from Yaoundé. My name is Adamu Kika. I'm sitting in my house enjoying your program with my family. Thanks. Extend our love to your family, sir. Good evening in the studio, Mr. Leo from Tico. We just need to create a new system of government, English and French, and with one central government, okay? Okay, good evening, Mr. Leo, and to the entire panel of my media prime, especially to the pastor for the good works. My worries are on the constitution of Cameroon, which gave all the powers to one person, the head of state, without reserve, and comes only from the side of the country. Our country can never do well with such a constitution. Thanks. Linus T. is writing from Yaoundé. Good evening, Mr. Leo. I love your outfit. You are putting on an Oxido suit, which is your Moet champagne, okay, which is your Moet champagne, okay. Apostle, understand my point better. Okay, Apostle, he says you understand. The champagne is there in the office. We'll drink it after the program. Good evening, Mr. Leo. The problem is how people buy their way into those professional schools and lack the issue of reading culture. I'm Ndonga Felix, writing from Tico. Good evening, Mr. Leo and the panelists. I love the program. I thank God for the apostle for his wisdom. What we are suffering today in Cameroon is tribalism, so there is no love. I'm Terence, writing from Muya. Good evening, everyone in the studio. Good evening, everyone in the studio. It's very true. We are neglecting our history and reality, and many Cameroonians now hate being taught history, and they call themselves scientists and not historians. We really have to change our mentality and love our history and try to find out more about who we really are. History is not all about past events, but a matter of using these events to create a future change. It's Ngumsi Precious, writing from Bambili. Good evening to you. Good evening, Mr. Kum. You're looking very smart. Greetings to my prof and man of God and brother Apostle Ambe. Learn a lot when he's on stage. Keep up, Mr. Kum. Very educative program. Fai John is writing from Banyo. Regional balance is an appropriate tool for political inclusivity, Mr. Liu. Just that it should move beyond papers and be given proper application. Yes. Gaius is writing from Kumba. Good evening, Mr. Liu. Apostle Ambe, I greet you all. The idea on regional balance can't stand less there is a hand of God upon those in Yaoundé, because Cameroon is centered in one direction. I say so because if you need any official document or whatsoever that concerns you, move only in one direction, Yaoundé. So there is no decentralization in Cameroon, and it has never existed. Fonui Carlos, writing from mile 4 in Nkwen. Okay, good evening, sir. The program is very, very educative this evening. Vanessa, writing from Loom. Good evening to you, Vanessa. Good evening, Mr. Liu. All of you in the studio. I'm of the opinion of regional balance. Councillor Nsah Emmanuel is writing from Tombell. Good evening to you. Good evening, Mr. Liu. And a good program you have today. Problem really is language, because in the days of the Germans, there was nothing like Francophone or Anglophones. It's Theo, writing from Bomenda. Hello, my Media Prime. That program is more than good. Thank you very much. Apostle, we have just 5 minutes to go. How do we do to fix things and make national unity a reality in Cameroon?
Yeah, Mr. Liu, I think the idea of building back unity and trust in the country has to start with the fact that nobody is a minority and nobody is a majority.
Okay.
That's the first thing. Number two, nobody is inferior and nobody is superior. Because I don't know how they define inferiority and superiority. There are people who are crowded but they are not intelligent. And there are people who are feeling nobody are intelligent. Who is superior and who is inferior? Number three, stringent measures should be put in place to fight against hate speech.
There is a law already on that.
As a stringent measures, I didn't say law. The laws are already there, but measures should be taken, because Cameroon is good at writing laws. The problem is the execution of the laws. When people stand up and say, we are the sardine, these ones are sardiners, these ones are Nordists, these ones are come no go. Those words are very, very strategic. And we don't joke, because if you look, we minimize a lot of things in this country. The greatest war on earth has been sparked by words. And we just play low on words and we don't take them very serious. Even the Bible says life and death lies in the power of the tongue.
Yeah.
The words that have come out of this ground is based on what people say. And because we don't take the issue of fighting against hate speech seriously, that's the reason why the thing is affecting us severely. When somebody comes and say, you are the sardina, you are the mouton, you are the this, I think the individual should be brought to book. If 1 or 2 or 3 persons are dealt with, I am very convinced that it will send a message to the rest of the persons. Because I read my history and they said the man Winston Churchill, what he used to silence Hitler in his days was the media. We don't understand the impact when we send information in the air. This country is even more divided now than ever before. Not only the Anglophone crisis. This Tomtina, Sardina, Mouton, Anglophone, the Zekan is already that is far beyond the division we're talking about now, Francophone and Anglophones. That's what I'm trying to communicate. We should deal with the issue of language, the way we use words in this country. Those problems, the problem we have in this country are born out of the kind of things that are spoken by individuals in this country. And those things came from individuals. Somebody comes up with a word, a slogan, he shoots it in the air, and then everybody picks it and then begin to hammer. It becomes a culture. The next person stands up with the word and sends it in the air. Nothing is done. Other group of persons speak it. It becomes an attitude. And by so doing, days are going by, different factions are being created, different factions. So we have to fight the idea of majority and minority. Northwest and Southwest is not minority.
Okay.
The rest of the regions of the country are not majority.
Majority.
Northwest and Southwest are not inferior. The rest of the other tribes of the country, the regions of the country are not superior.
Okay. Good evening, Mr. Liu. Your prime hour is always interesting and educative. For today, do we believe that if not of the biased governance, we would not have been here today? Let's always trace the root causes of issues. These brought about the lack of trust and national unity. Apostle Ambe we are behind you for more truth. Rixie is writing from Bengui. I'm sure that point was established from the very beginning of the program. Good evening, Mr. Kumam Chu Emmanuel Nzi, enjoying the program from Bafusam. The only trust and the bond that bring national unity in this country is federation. If they implement federation, this moment as we speak, you will see trust and unity amongst us, okay? Good evening to you all Romanos from Bamenda. Please, we need to own the history in our country. It's Romanos writing from Bamenda. Good evening, Mr. Liu and everyone in the studio. I'm Adeline Ndingo, writing from the cold weather conditions of Bambili. Building trust and national unity in Cameroon will mean a complete reshuffle of everyone in power, apart from the president of Fekafut, I think. The present leaders in power are very untrustworthy and expect to take the nation forward. My big laugh, okay? Good evening to you. Good evening. Rebuilding trust in Cameroon can't be assured. We are sin inferior everywhere, not fulfilling promises. The people we call Anglophones are transformed Francophones in offices, always namesake. Okay. Mukete is writing from Douala. Mukete. Good evening, Mr. Liu. Please, we need a new government in this country because not only Anglophones are suffering. The whole country from east, north to south are all suffering. I remember traveling to Mayubanyo. That's when I realized that the Bamenda Babaju road was a tarred road. It's Fonto writing from Bamenda. Good evening to you. Good evening, Mr. Liu and all the panelists. Kudos to Apostle Ambe for his brilliant analysis. Mr. Liu, the trust was destroyed by the government itself in 1983. Secondly, in 2010, UN delegations presented 2 maps to the president at the Unity Palace. Okay. Roland writing from Boya. I'm sure Dr. Simon Monzo explained the reasons for those 2 maps that were handed to the President of the Republic. Good evening to all. Special thanks to Apostle Ambe, writing from Kumba, Madam Kafu. And that is the problem. People are not told the reasons behind specific events. And good evening, Mr. Liu. The world in which we live is complex, perplexed, and even threatening, which if we don't live to understand the world, we cannot master it. Meben Raphael writing from Mutengene. Good evening to you, my brother Mem. Once again, good evening, Mr. Kum. I really appreciate Apostle Ambe in the second topic, but I put much blames in our judicial system and the associates. They have failed woefully. They no longer protect the underprivileged or orphans. Can you imagine a uniformed man or a rich man can kill or steal in public and goes free with no court or another security intervention? Felix is writing from Pomenda. Paddy Brown from Pomenda says, Mr. Kum, I marvel at the intellectual expressions of Apostle Ambe. He is such genius, not like some intellectual dwarfs in the name of profs. Okay. Paddy Brown, the best teller in Bamenda. Good evening, Mr. Liu. If we want to get out of this mess, let the government listen to the plight of the southern Cameroonians. Why kill people because of the fighting of their rights? If I don't want to be your friend, is it by force? Please, let's be sincere. God love writing from Boya. I love your program. Mr. Liu. Oops. Okay. Mr. Shuneh, we have come to the end. Certainly you have one last word for our televiewers this evening.
Yes, that if you don't know where you come from, then you don't know where you are going to. Mm-hmm. That the history of this nation should be taught to Cameroonians. Even they didn't teach us, they should teach our children. So that once you know where you're coming from, you will exactly know where you're going to, and you better prepare.
Mm-hmm. Okay, we want to thank you all who took time off to watch this edition of the program, especially to you, Eli, for producing, and Desmond. We also want to thank everybody who sent text messages As usual, we cannot read all of them, but we thank you for always watching. Tabitha Bryant, we say we are grateful for supervising the work we do out here. Stay blessed. Bye-bye.